When I was in elementary school, I had a reading disability. I was sent to reading recovery classes and I struggled for years. I was held back because I wasn't on the same level as everybody else in my class, and it seemed like teachers gave up on me because I was a challenge that didn't know quite how to handle. It wasn't until Miss Bench came in as a new reading recovery teacher and showed me that I was in charge of my own education and I needed to find my specific needs to develop my reading. And it definitely made me realize the weaknesses in myself and weaknesses in my education, not just in reading, but in every single subject. And I still apply those skills today, even after college. And it's just one thing I really want to implement to the kids is just, I'm not going to teach them just a subject. I'm going to teach them how they individually study and how they individually learn and how they need to implement themselves into their education, into studying and into lessons and into activities, and how it all forms together to have a great education background. To this day, I still give credit to Miss Bench for my success. She brought life back into my education and taught me that I could do so much more than what others expected. To this day, I wouldn't even dream that I was in honor English classes in high school, and I graduated from Texas A&M University and Sam Houston State University. I wouldn't have believed you. Like I said, she was extraordinary in finding specific needs for each student. And for me, it was my confidence. I was bullied by my peers because I was in these special classes, and it just felt like the teachers gave up on me. And a teacher can do a lot of things. Obviously, you teach a subject, but to inspire a student to be confident in themselves and to bring light into education, that's the best thing you can do for your students. And that's why specifically I chose agriculture, because it brought life back to me. When I was in school and I was isolated and I didn't feel like I belonged, it just brought this sense, the same purpose, the same confidence. And that's what I want in my kids. I want a kid that knows nothing about animals to have that spark and have that fire underneath them. And that's what I want to bring to my classroom every single day. I would honestly say that my strengths are communication. Being a manager of restaurants and working in sales and even with the AgriLife Extension office and working and collaborating with extension offices in several counties in Texas made me a better communicator and made me aware of what I needed to do for not even my team, but also my students, and how to find different ways of communicating the same information, because not everybody filters information the same. Not everybody takes in the same amount of information at the same time. So you have to find different ways. And I feel my background in all these different areas makes me really equipped with any tool I need. Another strength I would have is discipline. Being in a management background, I have a very, not strict, but very enforced way of how to rule any situation. So in a restaurant, I had hundreds of people working underneath me, and not everybody did their job. And so I had rules in place for a reason, and I had a system in place to discipline them. For instance, the first warning would be verbal. Second warning would be a verbal and a write-up. Third warning would be a verbal and another write-up. So whenever it came to the fact that I needed to bring in the owner or I needed to terminate, I had those systems in place. It just wasn't this one time, you mess up, I'm going to get on to you. It was a various system in place, and I hope to implement that in the classroom and just be really straightforward with the students, especially since they're in high school. They want to feel like they're an adult, and just hold them to that accountability of, I gave you rules, this is what I expect, and if you break them, then I'm sorry, you agreed to my terms, per se. One of my weaknesses is I over plan. I'm really good about having a to-do list, a checkoff sheet, sticky notes upon sticky notes. And I feel like in my lessons, I've always been over planned. And my kids know what homework they're going to do, what quizzes they need to do after every 9 weeks, what exams are coming up. Because as a student, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed putting in my planner, like I know what's coming up and not just flying with the seat of my pants. But I have issues with unplanned events, such as like fire drills, or if something comes up and I can't do this one lesson that I've been planning to do for the 3 or 4 weeks, and that's on me. And I have been working on being more patient and being more go with the flow, but still structured. And I think a lot of help is finding strength in others, and especially in a team that has multiple different characters. That somebody's more laid back and I'm more structured, we can feed off of each other, so I can give them more structure and they can give me more balance, and just finding that happy medium. So I think a big part of it is just feeding off of other people's strengths instead of their weaknesses. And I think that it will allow for a more cohesive person and a cohesive classroom setting. I do have a lot of background in communication and collaboration, but at the same time, I feel like it's one of my weaknesses, just because I want to use all the time wisely and effectively. And if we're being pulled in different directions and going down different trails, it gets really frustrating to me that we're not having quite a big vision, which kind of goes into the over planning. But I feel that working and collaborating with more people, I'm learning to not take over a project and give trust in others to do what they are best at, and stop focusing on the weaknesses and stop focusing on the strengths of each individual. So when we collaborate, it's a well-oiled machine. In agriculture, we do a lot of out of school activities, such as FFA, shows, contests, practices. I mean, we're around these kids more outside of the classroom than normally we are inside the classroom, or if we go out to the barn or anything like that. So the only thing I could say is I know my code of ethics as a teacher, and use the school policies as a guideline in how they run with after school activities and out of school activities to be prepared for situations like that. With social media in this century, it's just a strong source of entertainment, of knowledge, and we all have that instant gratification in social media. And that's well and good, but use your code of ethics as a teacher and the guidelines that school places for you and their policies and how they want social media to be implicated in the classroom.